pandemic trapped a bunch of aging role-playing gamers in their homes, forcing them to crawl out of their pen and paper comfort zone and into the online world of virtual tabletops and video calls. So join them as they raise the curtain to share their stories, insights, and love of all things geek. So grab your longsword and your +1 bottle of Viagra and get ready for another episode of Advanced Age Role-Playing Gamers Podcast. That's a lot of syllables for one sentence.
Hello and welcome to the Advanced Age Role-Playing Gamers Podcast. My name is Nathan.
And I'm Matt, and we're your hosts. So let me introduce ourselves. We're a group of friends that go way back and love getting together to have a cold beverage, talk shit, and play role-playing games. Sci-fi, fantasy, superheroes, vampires, cyberpunk, survival, horror, and even something a little strange. We've played just about everything, game mastered, and created our own content for all types of genres and games throughout the decades. We decided to turn our regular game night into a podcast because we wanted the opportunity to share our stories and good times with the rest of the world.
So you're probably wondering why you should be listening to our podcast. So we really love this stuff, and since you're here, you probably do too. We love hanging out together, and we'd be doing this every week, podcast or not. You'll hear us giving each other shit, laughing and yelling, and giving the GM a hard time. A lot of you know there's a huge difference between games you play at your friendly local gaming store versus your home game with your childhood friends. It just feels different. And that's really what we're trying to capture. The time we get to spend together playing these games has been really precious to us, especially in the past year. We want you to feel like you have a seat at our table. And we'd like to think we've captured that experience. We're not trying to be voice actors, but you'll hear us talk and yell in character. And while we talk about the rules, we edit out a lot of the lookup time so it doesn't drag on or take you out of the story.
We have a great cast with somewhere around 160 years combined at the table, plus some very interesting life experiences that shape the way we play. We look forward to highlighting each of them in our own Meet the Cast episodes so that you can learn more about them and their personal connection with gaming.
So I'd like to point out that when Matt and I took this idea to the rest of the folks, we were clear that we didn't want this to interfere with a regular game, and we didn't want them to feel like they had to filter themselves. The game and our friendships come first. So I want to thank them for trusting us to hop in the unmarked white party van and go for a ride with us.
Right. So part of this is, so why did we do this, right? So COVID-19 really threw us for a curve, not just gaming, but all the different aspects of our life, from our family, our work, kids, you name it. But gaming was definitely one of those things that was affected. We had to reinvent ourselves as GMs and players in the world of virtual tabletops and video calls instead of just sitting around a table and throwing dice.
At the same time, we started getting into a number of actual play podcasts like Nerd Poker and House of Bob, Roll for Combat, and Tableverse. And after about a year or so of listening to them, we started to have this separate but mutual feeling of we could do that.
So when I mentioned that we should do a podcast, it wasn't like, you're crazy. Everyone was like, makes sense. Why the hell not? So we were already playing online. We just needed to learn how to turn our obsession with gaming into something that other people could listen to. We hope that our stories can help people have a laugh and take their minds off the world around them, even if only for a little while.
So when it comes to content, what we hope to share with you are stories. These will be actual play role-playing games that follow a group of characters through a story arc within a specific game system. What does that mean? It means we'll be playing different characters in different games instead of one single big story arc. We want the flexibility to try out some old favorites, but also explore and learn about new and less mainstream gaming systems. We hope to be doing interviews. We would like to share our own stories and reach out to members of the gaming and podcast community to get their thoughts, experiences, tips, and lessons learned. And we'd like to do some gaming and tech how-tos and reviews. We've had a lot to learn about putting together a podcast, and we'd like to share that with you. We'd also like to provide insight into different game systems and their mechanics.
So where can you find us? You can find our stories on most major podcast distributors like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, as well as our website, the AARPGS.com, our Facebook site, YouTube, and Twitter page. Give us a like, subscribe, and provide feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Your feedback is highly appreciated.
So our first story is going to be It's Always Cloudy in Kalish. We're going to be using the Twilight 2000 4th edition system using Free League Publishing's Alpha rule set. We chose this system as our first story because we all lived through the Cold War and a couple of us played the original game. Growing up in the 70s and 80s, the Cold War and the threat of World War III were always something that we thought about. It was in the news, our music, and games like Gam World and, of course, Twilight 2000. We also really enjoyed playing Free League's Aliens Destroyer of Worlds module and the Mutant Year Zero gaming system in general. I think we like the idea that as a game goes on, the players become more and more messed up instead of the traditional game mechanic where they get more and more powerful. I'm going to be the game master for the story, and the rest of the cast will be taking on the role of survivors trying to escape the horrors of war. You can see the trailer for our first story on our YouTube.
Hey, Nate, any hints of the terrible things you have planned for us in the Twilight 2000 game?
Well, you're not going to need a nightlight anymore.
All right. All right, so that's it. Our goal is to create great stories and have fun doing it. We want to share our love of the game and all things geek with you.
So stay healthy.
Be kind to each other. And play games.